All right, Slav, my boy, how are you doing, man?
Good, man. Good. Just fucking you know, another day in the baby minds over here.
You like how I took your suggestion of just how is it going, and I said, wait a minute, let me start the podcast, and then I flipped it right back on you. I stole your kind of idea from the jump.
I know I'm Oh, so is this a sign of things to come? A little bit of
Oh,
like a aggression, a little bit of a little bit of dissonance going on,
oh,
some
there's
some
no doubt.
competition.
There's
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
friction.
I love it. I love it. I love the kind of Johnny Carson style intro also.
Yeah, yeah.
The showmanship is on full display right now.
I figured I gotta tap into some level of showmanship and everything, especially if we're gonna be duking it out. I need to have that little extra little bit of oomph on my side, a little je ne sais quoi.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I'm basically just like marinating in the oomph right now just cuz I'm sitting at home basically at all hours of the day with a baby that screams at me and a dog who just doesn't obey me. So I have basically an endless well of frustration.
Yeah, you're
Um
molded by it. I simply adapted to it. You were
yeah,
born
yeah,
in it.
you merely adopted it.
Oh man. Well, dude, I'm feeling pretty good. I had a birthday semi recently. I got a haircut and I'm back on Twitter, so I feel like a brand new man.
Dude, happy haircut.
Thank you. I feel like I lost like a good half a pound without the hair. It's pretty nice
A
cuz I was
fellow with
rocking
big
it
hair.
long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I recalled that. I mean, that was a while ago, but I mean, I'm assuming you'd had a haircut since last we saw.
Yeah, yeah, that's been like a year. But imagine that and then add on like 6 months of no haircut, and then that's kind of where I was at for a while. And then my hair was getting into my fingers as I was fretting on the bass fretboard, and I was like, "That's fucked. I gotta cut that out."
Yeah, that's no good. Do you have a barber you like, or do you do it home cooking style?
I just do it home style most of the time, unless I really need to get the sideburns and the back cleaned up. I'll typically
Okay.
just toss it in a ponytail and just boom, chop it across. Because
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I have my wife just kind of give me a buzz these days. I think that's kind of the way to do it.
yeah. Oh yeah, dude. I'm kind of like a old poor, so I'm built on home haircuts and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, I mean, you just get like a pair of clippers, like $30 at Costco, and then
Hmm.
that just kind of takes care of it forever for me at least. Because I have kind of a weird ass shaped head, but now that okay, all right. So my dad would give me haircuts when I was a kid, and there were a couple times where he fucked it up, and I got like made fun of, and so I got really scared of haircuts as a
Yes.
kid, and now like honestly, if there was like one thing I could tell myself, it's just that like school just gives you all the wrong expectations about everything in life.
Yeah.
And now that I don't need to go to school, I don't even need to go to a fucking workplace. I work from home.
No
Uh,
one to impress but the wife and the baby and the dog.
no, exactly. So my like that bra's always fucking my hair up. Really care.
That's
Uh,
part of the back and forth y'all have going on. She's like, maybe I just fuck him over. I get his hair cut looking crazy.
oh, dude, she's constant. She's kind of dastardly to be totally honest, dude. We were talking about this recently. I'm totally changing the topic a little bit here, but like we're talking about like friends we know. And if any in case anyone that knows me is listening, by the way, I'm not referring to any individual couple right
No,
now.
he's talking about
But
you
just
specifically.
I'm talking about but in a much more real way. I'm talking about you and I'm going to kill you. No, but like we know a number of couples who had kids in the last couple of years and pretty much like universally because we're like my wife's already busting down the door of like get another baby in me and I'm
Mm.
like holy shit you know um and everybody else is kind of like oh like I think a lot of people are quiet or they don't want to have another kid, but a number of people are like oh man we're like fighting a lot more, the kid has been a real challenge. And the funny thing is like this broad is just so fucking argumentative, uh, and like stubborn, and I am too. That like we've always just fought and argued all the fucking time,
Oh yeah.
and so the kid has actually not changed those level like the frequency of our conflicts at all. In fact, it's actually made it a little bit more peaceful, maybe. And so we're just kind of like, dude, who fucking cares, right? Like, it's the
Yeah,
Bane moment. It's just like, dude, I was born in this. Like, throw
yeah.
another kid into it, dude. Like,
Bro, your
I don't even
baby's
care.
really born in it, dude. She's gonna grow up and be a fucking top tier litigator.
Oh, dude, I know. She's gonna grow up to, like, get married to some guy that beats her up or something.
No, God, no.
No,
Don't put
no,
that
no,
evil
no. That's
on
not
her.
gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Speaking of which, how's it going? Don't say anything. I don't want you on mic. She just got in. I sent her to Costco.
Mm, the wife chores.
The wife, a woman's work, Costco. She's
Roaming
got
the endless aisles of Costco.
yeah, navigating around all the Indians and
The
got a flat
Serengeti of my life.
the Serengeti of my life, and we got a flat of garbanzo beans, dude. I've been prepping some garbanzo beans lately, just as a little treat,
Mm,
little snack. Right, I pop it in the toaster oven and just toast them for like half an hour. Dude, it's just a nice little like my vice is like potato chips.
yeah, me too, man.
And if I can just like munch on some fucking garbanzo beans with like a bunch of seasoning on them and shit,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of because I've learned white people ain't be seasoning they food. And
Yeah.
so I started seasoning they food and it's working pretty well for me.
I
What
go
are
with
you
the
doing?
old reliable, just Tony Sacheries, just on top of everything.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think when in doubt also just putting like hot spices on shit also
Yeah.
helps, right? Like yeah, this is kind of bland, but it's kind of burning my mouth, and so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what it tastes like. I just feel the pain, and I actually kind of like it.
Exactly. I think that should be the only exception made to the SNAP benefits being cut.
Yeah.
Is like you can't eat poisonous junk food anymore unless it's like so hot that it hurts your mouth.
Blue
Um,
Takis.
yeah. They
Tahini.
need to be they need to be like nuclear hot Takis. Also, I
No.
thought they were tackies, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, they are pretty tacky. Boom-tsh.
Hey,
Oh, man. But, dude, the blue tackies are literally, I mean, that's one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. I live in a pretty poor part of town, if you can believe that. And I'll be at the local Save-A-Lot or the local, cheap man's grocery store.
Mhm.
And the people in front of me are just loading up on those little drinks that are in barrels, like plastic barrels that are like different colored juices, and then also blue Takis, like shit that looks
dude,
radioactive.
dude, those little plastic barrels. I thought those were discontinued after like 2003. To be honest,
They might have, but we're a little bit behind the times here.
right?
Modernization's not reached this.
You guys are like eating out of a fucking like a nuclear fallout shelter.
I mean, very literally, we are doing that. There is nuclear waste all through the city, like no bullshit. And during like the height and heyday of the arms race and everything, in the north part of the city, they just unwittingly sprayed some sort of nuclear radioactive waste liquid material all over children playing in the playgrounds just to see what would happen, just to see how they would respond to it, like what it would do to the general populace. And that's been going on here and went on like around the middle of the 1900s. So we've got kind of that deeply rooted into the soil and the essence of this place. So yeah, there's radioactive waste. There's radioactive waste in the water, but primarily there's radioactive waste in all the fucking junk food these people are buying with their damn SNAP benefits.
Holy shit. I don't even that is just such an incredible bomb to drop on me. I don't even know how to riff on that, to be honest. That's fucking crazy, dude. That's fucking crazy.
It is insane, and that's like one of the reasons why large swath of the population didn't get vaccinated. Is because of those kind of things that have occurred all through our lives in history.
Dude, if we could just ditch this lame brain DEI stuff, we could go back to the good old days where
I'm
we were
spraying nuclear waste on black children.
spraying nuclear waste on black children.
Man, dude, we might head back there, God willing. I mean, we're back.
Dude, we're back to something. I'll tell you that much.
Oh man, so yeah, I mean, we got a lot to unpack here today. I sent you a list of things, and
I'm
it's
literally writing
really
it out in my note-taking app right now.
you better keep taking notes because I'm gonna blow you out of the water with all this in our debate
Dude,
stage.
dude, I'm relaxing. I'm taking notes as I take tokes of the marijuana smoke.
All right, fucking what are you, Cypress Hill?
I don't know. I got fucking radioactive water sprayed on me as a kid, so I don't really know.
Didn't we all?
But
How else you think you end up here?
yeah, dude, no, but straight up, shout out to a certain person who was like, "Oh, COH and Slav be agreeing too much." Guess
Mm,
what? Guess what? Not anymore.
we're done with
Not
that.
anymore. Not anymore. I've changed all my opinions. He gets to have all the correct ones. I'm wrong about everything now.
Yes, I
Is
get
that
to
what
be
you
based.
wanted, honey?
That's part of her psychological, just like warfare with you.
Dude fucking listens to my podcast and then just busts my balls about that.
I was geeking out when you told me that, thinking about the fact that you and I get along better than you and your wife, and then I realized, oh, that's actually pretty common, probably.
Oh, dude, it's for sure common, dude. I'm sure that if you and me started having sex, we wouldn't be getting along quite as well.
Oh no, I would have a major problem immediately. I'd be like, "What the fuck, bro? Why are you raping me right now?"
Well, also, I'm a very selfish lover. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. But yeah, no. So I'm looking at the notes here. I'm seeing. Well, you talked about gold card immigrants. Is that something you talked about, or am
My
I?
God, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so I literally just saw that on the timeline. Then I saw the Snap Bennies in Maha. Sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
National park workers. I'm in the dark.
What?
I
How
just
could you be in the dark on that? That's all I see all day long.
I something went wrong. I just wrote the word. One of my other bullet points just is the word American, and then I wrote Roman salute and Doge checks. I'll say one thing. I'm getting a little tired of hearing about Doge. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm ready for them to pack it in. I'm ready for them to, again, keep disassembling the patronage networks, but can like, can we Jack Ma Elon
Mm,
Musk after
got to.
this whole thing is over, right? Can we just be done with it? And then, yeah, the gold card immigrants. I mean, this is what a classic. Has there ever been a better example of like Trump just not living up to
Right.
the fever dream version that liberals have of him?
Mm-hmm. It's like, dude, how about you're pulling the wool over my eyes and fucking me in the ass trying to get a bunch of rich Indians in here, dude. What the fuck are you talking about?
Dude, and not even just that, but straight up just like we're gonna give them like a gift card to the country.
Yeah.
And like they're gonna be more citizens than you are.
Oh yeah. Titans of industry.
Good grief, man. What is this shit?
Subscription-based citizenship. That's what I'm after.
Yeah, no, 100%. What a fucking mess, dude.
Yeah, I hate that. I didn't, this is one of the things that being back on Twitter has brought into my life is just quick
Anger.
little moments of anger. Yeah, just one after another about wildly different things. But yeah, that was one thing I saw, and who knows really what that is, if that's just him spouting off and it's like he typically does. But it's the new plan of his proposed that's like, we're gonna make a $5 million gold card. So like not a green card, but it's a gold card, which is everything with Trump is fucking gold. So it's like a rich Indian basically, or a rich Asian green card. Because like let's be honest, no fucking other people have that. Not Africans coming over here, African warlords like Joseph Kony coming over with his fucking gold card.
General butt naked, getting some Newports at the fucking at the gas station with his gold card.
Jesus, dude, getting to scratch offs. But yeah, that's something that we might become a little bit more based in this country if we start letting fucking just backwards Africans in here. But that's maybe another point.
Let me tell you, there's a mosque not super far from my home, and I'll tell you, I don't think that they've enhanced the based content of the neighborhood.
No, they rarely do, unless you're talking about just the ideals of all the other people around them.
Yeah, no, exactly. Making everyone more racist around them.
Yeah, big time.
People certainly not proposing fucking gold immigrant cards.
Well, Europe has become a little bit more based with all the Arabs there, if you want to think about that. So, I mean, it does kind of have an inverse relationship.
That's true. That's true.
But yeah, I hate the gold card immigration thing. I don't want more immigrants here. I don't care if they're rich. You know what? In fact, I definitely don't want rich people, immigrants, coming over here and then all of a sudden just getting handed the keys to fucking business. I hate that, dude. American industry should be made up of American workers and American leaders, not
Mhm.
fucking crazy rich Asians coming over here with their money in their bank account. They're already buying up half of Manhattan and all the farmland everywhere. I don't want them running the companies here too.
Well, I mean, this is just like a tripling down on all of the Vivek
Mm-hmm.
Musk stuff, right? Just this idea of like, oh my gosh, we need to bring people in here to bolster the economy, as if this is like fucking, again, the best and brightest, like fucking Operation Paperclip status.
Right.
When like that's, yeah, again, invest in the American people.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, this is something that someone who might would be.
this is globalism. Not to
Oh
cut you
yeah.
off, sorry. But it's just like I wasn't all the way there. It's just like this is globalism,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and this is exactly the kind of thing also where it's just like, yeah, no, this is why we should have been fucking skeptical of Musk. You
Yeah.
know,
Definitely.
Musk having a finger in every fucking pie we're seeing. Um, this is why that's not good.
No, I mean he is that basically a gold fucking card immigrant, rich ass immigrant came over here, started a company, whatever. And I assume that's kind of the blueprint Trump is working off of. He's like, oh, we could have a bunch of Elons running around, and in his mind that means like, oh, advancement in business, advancement in technology, becoming global leaders in business and innovation again or whatever that kind of shit.
Mhm.
I'm not worried about innovating the technology of the future when the technology of the future is fucking anti-human, anti-life, and fundamentally bad for every individual who's just a working class person. I don't want to be ahead of that race. I would rather just invest, like you said, in our own working class, in our own capabilities. Like, and get back to that. I don't want to just bring in a bunch of unhinged rich foreigners to boss me around. It's like, oh, you don't want Indian coworkers? I got you. You don't want to compete with Indian workers? I got you. No worries. How about you just have a boss from India? No. What the fuck? No. I don't want that either.
Right.
I mean, we
Yeah.
shouldn't be open to the whole world's labor force, including bosses and shit too. That's insane.
We shouldn't like, okay, I'm not against immigration 100%, but like we shouldn't need immigration for
Yeah.
economic prosperity. And we're at a point where we do. And so I'm basically of the mind, and like, look, I have the prerogative of just being a dumb guy and just like being despondent and just putting my foot down. But like, you know, if you're at the point where that is uh, necessary for economic growth, then you completely shut it down and you change the circumstances to where that's not the case.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can reevaluate it after the fact. But that's the thing, is that MAGA has been pretty clear I mean, MAGA, I think, is more is better articulates themselves as a collective of people. They do a better job of that than leftists do,
Yeah.
and they've been pretty clear about the whole thoughts about this. Um, and I guess that's not good enough. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
I
I
don't,
mean, go ahead. Sorry.
I don't really know what'll come of all of it. So I think it's one of those things where we just kind of stay on it and see what actually happens, and hopefully it changes with time, kind of like the stuff with Vivek and his H1B, like kind of a big backlash will occur. But then again, I mean, nothing changed with the H1Bs. Like they're still just in action. So I don't really know. I don't like it. Like you said before, it's another instance of like, oh, this is not really what MAGA voted for. This is not what I supported voting for Trump. And this is an instance of him kind of being like, I don't know. I mean, the libs will love it more, letting immigrants and shit in here. I don't like it. And I don't really, like you said, I'm not fully against immigration either, but I am right now, like, we need to stop and figure out what's going on before we can start moving ahead. And that means, like, we should cut down on the immigration and especially cut down on immigration for people that are competing for high paying, well paying jobs that are highly sought after. Let Americans have those jobs. How are you going to strengthen a country of Americans if you're not like investing in the citizenry and you're just importing other people who have different beliefs, different nationalities, different understandings of what it means to be an American, if they even care about that at all? I don't agree with it. I don't like it, but I do think it's one of those things where it could just be something he's throwing out there, like gold card. He kind of likes the idea of gold, and maybe it's just nothing. But
I
I'm
mean,
gonna hope for that.
if this is the kind of thing where it'll go out to like 16 people, like okay,
Yeah.
but again, I'm honestly more than anything, maybe this is a better way of even describing my thoughts on it. And I don't want to hedge at all. I'm not hedging. It's just like if it's I don't want to dull and nullify natural forces and consequences that incentivize a course correction
Yeah.
toward investing in the American people, right? If we have like this is the whole argument against fucking normie neolibs the whole time. Oh we need to let illegal immigrants into the country because no one wants to work a job putting drywall up. Okay, well, why don't people want to work a job putting
Yeah.
fucking drywall up? Is it because you can make you can make more fucking money bagging groceries and then you won't fucking like just ruin your fucking body and spend the latter half of your life on fucking pain meds, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, then how about we get the fucking immigrants out of the country and then the fucking market
Yep.
can I mean, obviously, I would like even more than the market, but at the very least, the market can fucking adjust.
Mm-hmm.
The market can fucking adjust. This whole like we're just gonna skip 5 steps. We're gonna skip the bad part. I'm really wary of that.
Yeah, it's like a quick fix bullshit, just like all Western medicine or whatever. It's like, oh, you have anxiety about all the ways you're fucking up in life. Why don't you just take Xanax and stop thinking about it rather than address the fucking issues that are causing the anxiety in the first
You know,
place?
why don't you take some Ozempic?
Yeah. Oh, you're fat as shit and can't stop eating cake by the fistful? How about you take some Ozempic and maybe you just won't be hungry anymore? It's like, whoa. What's causing that in the first place? That's like you're saying. And here's the thing, too, I'll push back a little bit. I will work a job hanging drywall. I work out in the fucking dirt and fields, cutting shit down and doing landscaping work. And I like the work. And I would like to get paid a little bit more for it and be able to like actually have a real shot at like affording a house and living in a day-to-day basis and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that if we didn't have so much competition in the labor market, then yes, those things could probably adjust. And if white people don't want to go, pick avocados in Southern California. Okay, well then maybe we don't have any fucking avocados in Southern California, or the companies pay people the right wage, or we just let all these fucking undocumented people come in, work for slave wages, have shitty lives. They have no ability or agency to actually change their working conditions or look out for themselves because they have no protection under the law. They have no recourse as far as that goes. Why is that better, and how is that a more empathetic approach? That's my thing the whole time with immigration. I see left people all the time talking about ha ha ha, who's gonna pick all their fucking strawberries now or whatever, and it's like, yeah, why are you okay with them picking them? They shouldn't be getting paid dirt wages either, and we shouldn't
Well,
be
yeah,
just
that's a
continuing that.
telling on yourself kind of moment.
Yeah, that's the craziest shit. But yeah, man, I don't know. I hope that that's not a real thing, the gold cards. I hope that he can distance himself from this Elon fucking influence. But at the end of the day, I mean, Trump is just a businessman. So, I don't know how high of an expectation we can have for him to not just be gung ho, full, let's just get business going. And to me, that looks like business on paper, bringing in rich people. So, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're gonna. I think he comes in. Okay, and this is my version of a balanced take on this, which is like he comes in and he just starts sprawling out in every fucking direction, right? I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of ground he's covered since the inauguration.
Hmm.
And ironically, like the one thing, the thing that has made up the least amount of progress for that has been actual like deportation numbers, which is kind of funny. But he's just sprawling in all these different directions, and we're bound to see him kind of max out at where his ceiling is on certain
Yeah.
things, and this is one of them. And it's, he's a businessman. He's surrounded by I mean, I'm hesitant. I think I might be overstating it. Like, he's surrounded by globalists, but like Elon Musk is a fucking globalist, and
Yeah.
Elon Musk seems to have the king's ear, in
Hmm.
a really big way. And Elon Musk is like the worm tongue guy in like Two Towers, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and um, and so yeah, I mean, there's going to be certain things that we're never really going to see. I mean, I I don't really know. Like at the end of the day, the whole idea that nationalism can pose like a coherent threat against globalism, um, the Marxists say like it's a false consciousness, um, and
I'd say
that may
some
or may
Marxists
not be
say that.
true.
That's like a Trotskyist kind of position. I don't think that's necessarily the orthodox kind of line of thought.
Well, that's at least most people who refer to themselves as Marxists are gonna squirm at nationalism, even though like every fucking communist movement of the 20th century was nationalistic.
Right.
But um, I don't there is a truth to it that it's a good I guess opponent of globalism.
It's like a
I
speed
just
bump.
I don't I just don't think that Trump was ever going to be more of a nationalist than he was a businessman.
Oh, that's a fact. Yeah, I think that that's definitely the case. I think we're seeing that. Um, and I definitely think that like he is surrounded by globalists, not just I mean like in his cabinet or anything, but just by virtue of being an American politician or someone in the modern world. I mean, the water you're swimming in is globalism. So it is kind of a difficult thing to keep your head above water, so to speak. What do you think about, well, kind of a pivot, but it's not really. Uh, what do you think about the ASMR deportation video? You saw that?
Wait, no, what is this? What?
Jeez. Oh my God. Okay. So the White
Should I Google
House,
this?
yeah, yeah, yeah. ASMR deportation. Just Google it and watch it, or you can get an idea of what it is. But the White House official like X account
Oh,
posted a
whoa.
video, and it was ASMR video. Do you know ASMR?
Yeah.
It's like stuff that perverts listen to, the crunchies and like spit in people's mouths, or like people like closing blinds or
Yeah,
whatever.
real sick freaks.
Yeah, it's just perverted bullshit that Japanese people whack off to. So that's
Okay, yeah,
basically,
I just watched it. It was like 30 seconds, and I skipped through it a little.
yeah. So the White House tweeted that out, and it
Yeah.
obviously caused a pretty big stir. A lot of people who are saying, this the way to win is not to continuously gloat and do this. You're not going to actually, like, you're going to hurt yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot by doing this kind of stuff. Then you have a lot of people who are like, we got to close ranks and support this. This is like, there's nothing wrong with this. This is what we voted for. You have to be like mentally deranged to care about the White House posting a video of criminals being deported or whatever. But it did cause quite a kerfuffle as far as in the discourse. And I just kind of wanted to see what your thoughts were on. I know we were talking about immigration, we're talking about deportations. I am fundamentally for the deportations, but and I think we've talked about this before. Like, I voted for the deportations because of labor market and that kind of thing. I didn't vote for the deportations because I don't like Mexican people or I don't like whatever. And I do think there's some people who did that. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I do think that's like a kind of a thing. But I'm into the immigration limiting. I'm into all that as from the standpoint of an American worker. It's not really to gloat about, you know, or to just kind of be, I don't know, kind of ugly about that in a sense.
Yeah,
Um,
reveling in it,
yeah,
right? Like I think the way I always kind of think about this stuff is like, and I don't I don't, dude, I don't, I'll out myself right now. Is just saying like, I don't really know the first thing about serving in the military, but I think like philosophically, being a soldier is like noble.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think like going out there and then acquiring a taste for killing people, not noble. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, okay, all right. I mean, the post is tacky. The post is
Yes.
tacky. It's reveling in something that's ugly.
Yeah.
It's well, okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'll say I'll say this. I'll say this. Um, it's what that post is actually about is like kind of in my mind one of the biggest deals of this like current moment and era in general, which is looking at leftists and libtards and going, we are completely past caring about your moral frame anymore.
Yes.
Like you thought that we were on another planet and that we were outside of your moral frame, and we weren't. Now we actually are.
Yeah.
And like, we don't ask you for permission anymore. Fuck you. And that's so fucking important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so good. Um, and that's what that video is.
Yeah.
That being said, right? It's tacky. It's tacky. And it also, I mean, that post straight up just like reads like something that like Musk himself posted.
Yes, dude.
Um,
It's like some
and
fucking millennial online brain kind of like irony
it's a
poison
millennial
kind
joke.
of shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's irony poison, but
Well, not
it's like a millennial style joke, right?
yeah. And when I
Uh,
say irony poison, I don't mean actually like steeped in irony. I just mean like you can see that it's affected by the same kind of online, hyper online personality or whatever that makes like an Elon Musk or whatever, get up on stage and say I am become meme or do the Roman salute or whatever, where you're like, okay, this is like trolling coming from the government and it's kind of weird. But everyone's like, that's not I don't really care about it that much. But I do think a ASMR is for perverts. I don't want our White House like sharing ASMR videos because that's like perverted gooner weird bullshit. I don't care about the deportation. I hope we send more of them away on the planes. And that's kind of where I'm at on it. I do think there's value in showing that. Like, look, this is like it's kind of like a strength thing. It's like, look, we have the cards in our hands. This is we're flexing a little bit. And I think there's, the left has been flexing for fucking a decade, 2 decades or whatever. So it's okay. I don't personally love the optics of it. I definitely don't like the ASMR thing. If it was just videos like playing 50 of 100 immigrants being deported today, all filled with criminals, I'd be like, that's based. Either way, it's based, but it's just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of ugly and it's pretty cringe. It's like the thing more than anything.
it's cringe. It's cringe. That's where it kind of has the Musk
Yeah.
thing on it. I think. I mean, well, okay. First of all, this is me just totally being a pedant, but it isn't actually an ASMR video. That's them just kind of being tongue in cheek,
I
right?
know, I know,
But
yeah.
like, it's. I mean, yeah, it's yeah that issue of like reveling in the ugliness as a way of just being like, look how little I care about your
Yeah.
job. I mean, that's kind of leftist in disposition,
Yes, it's
to be
politics built
honest.
on spite, and that's what like the left are very much so about that.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this a little bit. Um, okay, all right. Um, I know somebody, and this isn't somebody that listens to the podcast. But even if they did, I don't really care. Are you familiar with the pastor Mark Driscoll?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, he's you have seen clips of him online, I guarantee it.
I'm googling him
And
now.
he's
Oh yeah, I've seen him.
yeah, he's a
Kind of
little
looks
bit of
like
a
JD
silly.
Vance a little bit.
Yeah, I guess he's kind of got
Kind
a
of
wide
pudgy
face.
kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of got fat face. He's he's a little bit of a silly Billy, okay? And and I know somebody who's like really into his stuff. And And this person is kind of a tried and true, all the way through anti-feminist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't even, honestly, I don't even need to have this be so specific. I'll just say it in general. I'm aware of people, plural, right, who go to who go to, well, whatever. I started out to, this is probably unlistenable. I already started out really specific, so I'm just going to stay where I was. I'm not going to hedge. Um, Person I know, and this describes other people, basically selects their spiritual community, their religious community, based on like how based on how based this person is, or
Yeah.
the church is, on like basically men's rights activist level politics,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I mean, you know, the Holy Roman Catholic Church is the deposit of faith. It was founded by Jesus Christ, and we're running on a different time scale
Yeah.
than these people are. Um, and so it doesn't really seem particularly evergreen to me to be talking about anti-feminism
Mm-hmm.
day in, day out. I mean, we can take a little pit stop here and there, sure,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I'm
But
tired
just
of
this,
the anti shit, dude. I'm tired of that.
well, no, exactly. And so that's a part of it. And the other thing I'm thinking about, and this is the main point I'm getting to, is just, especially, it seems more than anything relevant in the context of the religious life.
Mm-hmm.
But this is universal in general. Um, if all you talk about is how bullshit your opponents are, and how bullshit the other side is, and you're constantly just arguing with their claims and their um, posited beliefs,
Yeah.
they control you. They
Mm-hmm.
completely control you, and you have to zig when they zag,
Yeah.
and you're completely dominated by them. And a lot of my family are normicons, and it's fun to like talk with them here and there, because they're not like a lot of other people I know, or certain other family members in general, who are like super paused up libtards. Um, but like, you spend enough time around the normicons, and you do realize that like like my mother is kind of a good example. I love my mom. Um, I mean, she just repeats like talking points that I have like 3 to 5 years of familiarity with already, and that I'm
Yeah.
already kind of bored of, right?
You're molded by
And
it. She merely adopted it.
yeah, and like most normies, she doesn't just play around with these ideas out of like intellectual curiosity. She like identifies with them. She like
Oh yeah.
constructs a new identity as like a feature of who she is, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like her favorite thing now is to say that she's like through and through like a big time conspiracy theorist, right? And which again, like in itself is
Kind
like,
of based.
that's like no, okay, but this is the thing, right? This is the rare candy thing, right? Like, you don't like, stop being based.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? This is the big thing. This is the big thing. You could be woke, you could be based, or you could be fucking normal,
Just be a
right?
person. Yeah, yeah.
You could be fucking normal, right? And so she's like, "Oh yeah, I'm really into conspiracy theories." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no, for sure." So like, do you think we faked the moon landing? She's like, "Well, I don't know about that." Okay, do you think we did 9/11? Well, I mean, I wouldn't go that far. Oh, okay, I mean, it's pretty messed up about like MK Ultra and stuff too, though, right? Well, and it's like, dude, like this is like, to people that are actually, and I'm not into conspiracy theories really, but like people that are into it, it's like I just laid out the most like rudimentary page one
Mm-hmm.
shit,
That's pedigree
right?
shit. Yeah, yeah. Prerequisites.
And so it's all just to say, it's all just like, well, now I've kind of gotten off the original point, which is just like, don't be, and you really hit the next evolution of it, which is, I'm kind of just over the whole like, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't
Yeah.
like this, I don't like you need to start making positive
Mm.
declarations, right? One thing that occurs to me is like, yeah, like I have friends and family that are libtards, and they are genuinely some of the most hateful people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
And it's because, um, and don't get me wrong, like the conservatives that I know absolutely hate libtards too, and they complain about them endlessly. But liberals like get really weird about how much they dehumanize conservatives.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all just so completely like grasped, they're taken by this idea of just spiting people.
Yeah.
And I get it. And don't get me wrong, like I know it would blow a lot of people's minds to hear like our whole take on Doge, which is like it's not about government efficiency. It's literally just about like destroying the opponent's repertoire.
Yeah.
And that's good. That's good, right? You should be a little bit of a Machiavellian in some ways, right?
Mm-hmm. But
But
who
like,
gives a fuck about government efficiency?
well, and
It's
that's
kind of
where
the
like
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and like I'm not, I know we're gonna get into it, but like just to like touch on like an RFK thing, like I'm not a big political speeches guy, but I thought it was really beautiful and a really great quote where he was like, our future depends on us loving our children more
Mm.
than we hate each other.
Yes. God, yes.
Um, and yeah, there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that,
You
and
need
like
to base your
yeah.
identity from a place of love and not spite. That's just what needs to happen.
Yeah, and you need to be stoked on actively building stuff up, right?
Yeah.
Like I think about like not even like boomer cons or like hyper libs, but just like some of the normie friends I know who are like they're just like Reddit libs, right? But like they're sort of just like apolitical. They're like blue state apolitical people.
Mm-hmm.
They don't they like talk about politics. They bring politics up, right? But they don't like say any positive constructive opinions about anything. All they do is they kind of just have these like kind of little barbed venomous acerbic zingers that they throw out
Mm.
shitting on other people.
Yeah.
And it's like that there's like a karmic debt incurred on your soul when
Mm-hmm.
all you do is do that.
Mm-hmm.
And like you need to be able to you need to be able to define the good, the true, and the
Yeah.
beautiful
Yeah.
and be
Yeah.
working towards something. This is also why I think like ironically, the true Marxism is kind of anti-Marxist in a way, because you need to go, okay, like this whole substrate in Marx's work of like Darwin and materialism
Yeah.
is like actually undercutting the entire thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to assert a positive truth and
Yes.
like view of what is good.
And that's
And
dialectical. Like you can do that. It's not something where
you
like
can just do shit.
right. Oh yeah, yeah. But like the materialism is the foundation fundamentally for Marxism. Like historical materialism is and dialectical materialism is kind of like what is the root of Marxism. But in like being dialectical with your approach, you can also say like, okay, well, like there's aspects of that that are wrong, and there are other aspects like and impose a good truth, like a humanist, kind of bent on that. That's not purely materialist, and you can hold both at the same time without it being like you can get what you need out of it and also put away the things that you don't. And I think that that's something that like people just don't really get. I have a couple of things because we've kind of you let a lot of stuff out there that I had a lot to
Oh, dude,
think
I
about.
hit you with a lot. Just go off.
So number one, I think like I said before, you shouldn't base your beliefs and your principles and your identity from a place of spite. It should be always starting in a place of love, and then it should build out from there. You should define yourself by what you are in a positive sense and not the things that you're against. You shouldn't define yourself in a negative sense. You should define yourself in a positive sense. I am a child of God, so therefore I am not a child of Satan. Like there's no kind of like, oh, I'm just not, I'm against that, I'm against that. Okay, but you're leaving a void that will inevitably be filled by something. You have to define what you are. You have to pursue your destiny with in a positive sense, not negative. And I think that what kind of tying that into what you're saying about people's religious pursuits, I don't think that joining a church because they have the most based pastor about men's rights is a good way to go about things. If you feel more comfortable in that spiritual community and that will help your spiritual growth in some way, then yes. But if it's because you like the activism they're doing on the streets, that's a backwards approach, in my opinion, to a spiritual journey. I don't think a spiritual journey should be something that confirms your previously held beliefs at every step of the way. It should challenge those. And then through faith, you get a better understanding of what you actually do believe and the real reality of that in the world and how it relates to truth, how it relates to actual goodness. You shouldn't just be going into something, oh, yeah, they say all the shit that I like. So, yeah, it confirms all my beliefs and they're right. That's not a good way of living, and that doesn't help you actually grow in a spiritual sense. It
Well,
w-
also that makes your religious beliefs, if they're so obsessed with this topic, it makes it so that like obsolescence is built into it. It's
yeah.
completely reliant on like the cultural context you find yourself in right now, right?
Hmm.
Like you can buy into like the biblical gender roles, which are like very clear and like very traditionalist, and kind of just have that be like an open and shut case. You don't need to constantly keep having like an argument at the
Yeah.
pulpit
Hmm.
against blue hairs.
Yeah, just believe the thing that you believe and then live your life, structure your life around those belief systems. And through doing that, by virtue of your very being, you will be cutting against the things that you don't agree with and that you don't like. But you don't have to just go out and point at all the things you don't like with a megaphone and scream about them. You should build the things that you do like. You should live in a way that you do agree with. You should surround yourself with a community that does incentivize the good aspects of humanity and does strive to be in connection with truth and goodness and beauty rather than just constantly pointing out the ugliness and the things that you don't like, because that, like you said before, when you're completely letting the other side, you're just defining yourself as against the thing that you're against, you're letting them control the playing field, you're letting them call the shots, and you aren't actually providing a viable alternative or another way to live. And as you're not like, to stand up against a tidal wave, you have to be a fucking structure. You can't just be nothing and say, well, I just don't like that tidal wave. You need to be something that's going to stop it, like a seawall. You have to have some substance. You have to build something in order to like be stand out from the nothing. You have to become something. And so like you have to build your identity and your life and whatnot on a solid foundation, and that needs to come from a place of love, and then that needs to be informed by like how do you pursue love in the things that you do, and how do you amplify that rather than amplifying hate, ugliness, greed, etc., whatever the other things are. And
Yep.
that a lot of that's just part of like the Christian message and doctrine. And if you're going into a church and you're saying I believe in this and I believe the creed and all this, and then you're not living in that way, you're living in sin. Like you're not, I mean, everyone's living in sin, but like you're just not really embracing the truth that's there, and you're not aligning with God in a meaningful
Well, I think
sense.
about it. Can I add something?
Yeah.
I think about I've been going to the gym lately, and I've just really been trying to like even just beyond the gym, just getting a little bit more out of myself because like parenting is like asking a lot of me,
Yeah.
and I want to like rise to the challenge, and I like find that there's like a part of me that's like, oh man, like I'm gonna fucking go do this out of spite for the haters. I'm gonna go, man, my boss is pissing me off right now, dude. I'm gonna go fucking lift things and like, dude, I can lift things better than you can, you little faggot.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, I went to the fucking you gave me a hard time. I went to the gym. You didn't go to the gym. I beat you. Like you can the best revenge is a life well lived kind of
Yeah.
thing, right? Okay,
It can be a
you
good
know,
motivating factor.
it can be a good motivating factor, but that's the kind of fuel that like doesn't burn clean.
Yes.
And if you go through a bad breakup and you're like, fuck, I'm gonna that bitch did me wrong. I'm gonna get back into the gym and I'm gonna make her regret ever leaving me, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Dude, if you gotta do that for a broken heart in the beginning, like absolutely. But if you're like 30 years down the line and you're still talking to yourself about how that fucking whore backstabbed you, like I don't really care how many fucking kettlebell swings you're doing.
You're fucked.
Like you're gonna look like fucking Skeletor with just the vital essence that that behavior is taking from you, and
Uh-huh.
it's gonna morally disfigure you,
Yes.
right? And like showing up to a religious community and just being like, fine, I'm gonna hang out with the weird girls that wear a long dress and fucking I'm gonna talk about I'm gonna own the feminists in this fucking homily, and it's just like, dude, like you are like there is a disquietude. I don't
Mm,
even know if that's a word.
that's absolutely a
There's
word.
there is a that in your spirit right now that is like keeping you from the real depth here. And I don't
Yep.
even want to act. I mean, I'm such a work in progress when it comes to
Everyone
like my
is. Hmm.
faith, but just in general, right? Like, just like, man, it's, like, it's tough on the engine. It's
Yep.
tough on the engine. And,
Yeah.
to bring it back to the political projects, right? Um, I think about like the normies, and I guess I would just say, like, if I was to have one concise cautionary bit of advice for them, I would say, like, look, like, you can keep burning that fuel of spite, right? And that definitely propels you, like, it gets the car moving, right? But you're still just kicking the can on like ever developing any kind of like workable, coherent, meaningful political consciousness.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, I mean, you could just round up all the conservatives and just drive them into the sea, and they would be gone. And then you would be trapped needing to actually figure out what to do next.
Yeah. You'd be fucked.
You would be fucked.
Yeah, it would be
And
crazy.
like, and you can get yourself super jacked to spite that whore of a woman that broke your heart, and then you could meet somebody who's great, and your heart is just so ugly and
Mm.
disfigured and incapable of love. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. No doubt about that. I mean, that's many such cases, unfortunately. I think that people have too much, and I mean, I don't want to be like, I'm going to talk about both sides of my mouth a little bit here, which is that it's okay to point out the things that are wrong. You have to identify and diagnose the problems in order to like fix them, for sure. But you also have to have a solution. You also have to have some sort of viable alternative, some sort of like, otherwise you're just sitting around with a bunch of problems on your hands and you're going to get overwhelmed by them or overrun by them and actually not do anything ever to affect any of them in a positive way. You have to offer something. And that's something that's like, I don't know, I get kind of frustrated, obviously on both sides of the political spectrum, because it's the same kind of way. It's just anti the other side. And I'm not with the anti shit. I'm not anti-fascist. I'm not anti-communist. I'm not anti, uh, any of that. I'm just trying to figure out a working understanding of a political economy within America, within our current conditions, and then how can we figure out how to make that something that can be viable for average working class people, and then how can we represent that in the political sphere, and like what are the characteristics that it needs, etc. And you don't figure that out by just saying, oh well, fuck these other guys the whole time. You have to do it by actually just trying to decide, what do you believe, what are your foundational principles, and then actually standing up for them and standing on a solid foundation. And sorry, were you about to cut in?
Oh yeah, sorry. I did the sharp
Yeah.
inhale. Well, I was also just so you're totally right. And also, just as a side note, I never thought about it in this way, but like I I feel basically the same way. I get the same reaction to like how I view someone and affect and like respect their opinions if I see them claim in some way, like in their profile, or just say out loud that they're anti-fascist
Mm-hmm.
or they're anti-communist.
Yeah.
Like, it's both such boomer brain,
Mm-hmm.
retarded, like,
It's
okay,
midwit.
I get that you exist at the end of history,
Yeah.
and that you just it's the I'm anti-communist, I'm anti-fascist, I don't what the hell is water, you
Right. Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um like, I'm anti whatever those people are, to be
Right.
totally honest.
Yeah. I'm pro
Um
human future. Fuck anti anything. I'm pro human future. Whatever it takes to make that work, let's figure it out.
Well, and also, not even just about the anti-pro anything. It's just like if you're anti-fascist and or anti-communist, you're just pro end of history liberalism,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you're
For
fucking
yeah.
boring. You're fucking boring. And also, if you're saying things like that, you just like don't even know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You're just a fucking retard. You're just
Mm-hmm.
a fucking stupid retard. I was like explaining to somebody I was explaining to a loved one the other day. They were talking about how like the ruling class and the elite that Trump is kind of um, rebelling against and attacking are like communists.
Mm.
And it's like, man,
I hate
it's
that.
like it's like on a certain level, it's like it doesn't really matter if you understand that that's not true, because kind of in the same way that it's like it doesn't really matter if you think that we're just going to deport all the criminals, because it's just like whatever gets you to be in favor of the agenda is cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But like at the same time too, it's like it feels important for you to understand that like, dude, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and like the whole Democratic Party aren't communists.
Damn.
Like they're like, and they're not. It's not like what leftoids say either, where they're like everyone in the America's far right. It's like it's not
No.
that either. They're like a new thing. They're
Yeah.
like a different thing, and like they lean left in a lot of ways, but like they're different.
Yeah.
They're different. And they're like what I was trying to describe to this person. It's like no, they don't represent some like shattering of the natural order to bring in some Leninist revolutionary thing. No, they represent stasis. Like they
Mm-hmm.
represent
Mm.
someone like holding all of us down to like a fucking table, like
Yeah.
with like leather. Like they represent pushing against just the natural dialectic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just fucking globalist economy, like global economy, neolibcon, fucking miserable little shills. Like, they're not. I, it's so crazy when people are like, "Oh, these people are communists and everything." I understand like the cultural affects that they're referring to, but that's not communism and that's not Marxism, and it doesn't do anyone any positive benefit to call it that. And I've had like this discussion where it's like, okay, well, quote unquote real communism or whatever doesn't exist in the way that you mean it, and this is the way that it exists, and so let's just, people that are calling themselves communists and believe these things, and so therefore that's what it is. Okay, sure. We live in this fucking postmodern hall of mirrors where nothing really means anything. But in order for us to actually figure out a way forward, we need to get to, you should call things what they are so that we can understand them as they operate within the current political economy. And like saying that this is communist is just like a disregarding of how political economy works, how capital moves through systems. Like it's ultra capitalist. If anything, it's not communist. Like it's crazy to think about.
Yeah. Well, no, and again, it's one of these things. It's one of these things where it's like, what you believe does fucking matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you want to get to a point, as of right now, right? Everyone, they're all the globalists are communists, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the globalists are communists. Okay. All right. I mean, I guess that like doesn't really matter if you're not able to like discern these like finer points. But again, like the second you're done slaying your opponent and you need to like then sit down and start building something,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that you just like don't have the most basic grasp of political awareness and consciousness like is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
And like I don't really believe in like in any form of like democracy, not really, right? And so or at least in this situation I like pray that like that form of democracy is totally irrelevant and that maybe it doesn't matter. But like on the off chance that it does fucking matter, and that like you need to be able to like stand up for yourself when like eventually fucking Elon Musk starts just administering globalism into your ass again.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to have some kind of concept of political economy and be able to call a spade,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to again just having this hollowed out place in your skull where your brain would be that you've just poured the friend enemy distinction into.
Yep. Yeah, I mean that's literally all this is just okay, that's the name for the enemy and that's like the boogeyman within the Western mind and it has been since the 1950s. And so it's like,
Yeah.
okay, anything I don't like, communist, whatever. And I get that. And I'm not even trying to stand up on some like, well, the real communism is this and that's good actually. I don't give a fuck. Just I would rather people understand the concepts we're talking about in a better way that actually illustrates how capital moves through these economic systems and like what systems do like what accelerates that and what can kind of like maybe put a cage around it and like that's kind of what the whole conversation's about. It's not and people just don't understand what the terms mean and then we just keep using them as something else and then we further remove ourselves from any understanding of political economy. Like that's what I was saying. I got into like this back and forth in the Rare Candy Discord and God bless all the people in there, but someone was like just talking about like, oh, all these people are communists and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, that's interesting because the average worker today and average citizen today has like a way worse understanding of political economy and class analysis than they did in 1950s. So how is it caught like where are we communists? There's no understanding of the political economy that actually there's no analysis going on that's class based. There's nothing there's no Marxism happening here. So how is it other than like a cultural Marxism or whatever you want to call it, which is not like actually tied to a political economy understanding of how capital functions and circulates? That's just like kind of a phrase that people put around massive cultural change and like the networks that create that. Um, and so we just get further and further away, and it is what it is. I'm not trying to say, oh well, communism's actually the answer, and we need to like respect the great name of communism or whatever, because I don't know that I really believe that fundamentally, but I do think that Marxism as a way of understanding how capital moves through life and how it like circulates and like the value in motion and how it basically webs itself into all aspects of culture and life, that's important to understand and to be able to chart out. And Marxism can help give you some understanding of that. It's like a toolbox. And we've talked about this plenty of times over and over again. But you should be able to have that toolbox and be able to utilize it if you want to effectively. And it doesn't mean that you have to believe everything about it and that you have to be a communist or whatever, but you should be able to ideally have some tangible grasp on class analysis, or else we're fucked going forward as far as anything that's going to be for average working people, because no one understands what it looks like to make an economy for working people or how the economy we're currently in is against working people or anything. It becomes just individualized. Oh, these fucking people have some sort of evil brain disease in them that's making them, tear apart American families. Or no, maybe it's just capital incentives that's causing that constantly. And then we keep building society around those rather than building safety things in place to kind of cut off those incentives and encourage and incentivize the proper things. It just people get further and further away from it, and I think that it's important to define terms as they are and call things what they are. And this is going to be a little bit of a pivot, but as we're talking about communism now, and I feel like we kind of ran to the edge of that topic, I'm back on Twitter. I've
Mhm.
been scrolling. I'm on the timeline. I've realized that we have, through our own discussions and the guests we have on and the kind of the lines in the sand that we've drawn and stuff, we have kind of backed ourselves into a more right wing space fundamentally, for better or
Okay.
for worse. And so I
Mhm.
get onto Twitter. I'm like, who are the people I know? Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, all right, it's all like post left, disaffected, now kind of right leaning people, in like kind of new wave conservatives and that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, where are any positive leftist accounts? I would like to have, some other influence on my timeline, even if I'm just going to be, this is wrong or I think it's ridiculous or whatever most of the time. I would like to have a little bit more balance so I'm not just constantly in this own echo chamber that I find myself in. And so I'm like, all right, where are there good leftist accounts? I put a tweet out. Now, granted, I have like no one that's following me, but I
I
get
think I
no,
know what you're about to bring up.
yeah, yeah, I get no responses on that. And so I'm like, all right, who are some people that I remember? And so I start clicking on accounts, going to like, who do you follow, and who's the other people that I know follow, and trying to sort through the haystacks to find a possible leftist. And I come upon Infrahaz and Jackson Hinckle, who
Yeah.
are now ACP, American Communist Party or something. It's like
Yep.
they started up a new communist party. It's, I guess, and as opposed to the DSA or whatever. Um, and so I'm like, all right, I'll follow them. They're like trying to build a workers' party. It's like they're trying to like, let's just see what they're doing. Let's see what's going on. These motherfuckers are over in Lebanon right now, wearing rags on their heads, crying with a bunch of people in a fucking stadium about a leader of Hezbollah. And yet they're posting about we're going to create American working class socialism with American characteristics, blah, blah, blah. How does this connect with any fucking American worker at all? So I'm not saying I'm a communist. I'm not saying I like what these people are doing or whatever. I'm not saying that that's why we need to use these terms correctly, is so that we can, you know, see who's the good guys and what's actually right and not, because these guys are retarded. But it's just, we have to know what we're talking about. And so I go on there and I'm trying to find like, what's a communist thing? And it's just nonstop that they're posting pictures of them hugging fucking Lebanese Hezbollah people and this and that and the other, and then, oh, I was detained and interrogated by the Department of Homeland Security for 8 hours when I got back in the United States after I went to
Yeah,
the.
I saw that.
It's like, yeah, no fucking shit, you retard. Why are you in Lebanon? What the fuck are you doing trying to build American working parties in Lebanon? So yes, these communist people, even the people who think they have a good grasp on the theory and stuff or whatever and would define it differently, they are retarded and they are doing stuff that is like not pro American worker. But that doesn't mean that they're the same as like that's what Marxism is, or that that's the only way it can be used, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny. So we talked about, to be a little meta. We talked, and we referenced this in the beginning, but we talked about like try to disagree a little bit more to like have a little bit more like friction in the conversation. And I said I was going to kind of play devil's advocate,
Mm-hmm.
and I will with these guys, right? I'll defend them a bit, but I will just say, like, that all being said, um, these guys just very obviously strike me as quite glow in the dark.
Oh yeah.
And like seeing Jackson Hinkle, constantly peering on, fucking Pierce Morgan and like getting flown all over the fucking world and addressing the fucking Ayatollah and just making this weird, like, it's just like, what's going on? Where is the fucking money coming from? Right.
Yeah.
And I'm usually very, kind of in the same way where if someone's like, I'm anti-communist, I'm anti-fascist, like if someone's like super, super anti China, I'm generally like, okay, faggot, whatever. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
care. That doesn't actually mean I'm pro China. I'm
Right.
actually like aggressively indifferent towards China in
Mm-hmm.
general, to be totally honest with you. Um, but man, I like look at Hinkle and it's just like, all right, like it seems kind of obvious that's where the money's coming from, right? Um, yeah, I don't know, man. I do like the idea. Fuck. I'm like, I'm trying to. I did all that huge qualifier. Now I'm trying to kind of do the devil's advocate. I do like the idea. Okay, I like the idea of people who like can be put through their paces, and I've listened to them talk, and they can be to an extent. People that can be put through their paces when they're talking about, you know, um, something more like an orthodox Marxism, being able to like, um, impartially talk about Trump, right?
Yeah.
They don't they have they're outside of the general shit lib programming,
Of course.
right? And they can actually look at that stuff from a fair perspective. And in that way too, like I see them like give meaningful critiques and they're the way they critique Trump about, Israel and shit like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, that's great, right?
But they're doing it too. Like, they're not just critiquing him about Israel and being like, the Palestinians deserve to have their right to self-determination or whatever. They're like, let me go fly over to fucking Palestine and meet with the leaders of fucking Hamas and then go chill with the leaders of Ayatollah and Hezbollah. It's like, dude, what are you fucking, what? That, like, how does
Yeah,
that align with American working people? That's, I don't like that. Get away from them. What the fuck are you doing? Spend your time here, spend your time in the Rust Belt, spend your time working with fucking real American workers and formulating what could a working class politics look like in America. Don't just go dicking around all around the world on some United Workers of the World Unite shit that's like, okay, well, you know what? As you're over there having tea with fucking the leader of Hezbollah, there's like 90% of American working class people that are completely writing you off immediately because that's weird.
yeah, yeah. Well, and that's where it's like the average communist biggest opponent. See, now we're just agreeing, but that's fine. I'm not gonna. We're just keeping it real on here, right? Me and you get along better than me and my wife. No, like, yeah, I'm like straightening my tie. The biggest enemy to the average like communist is just themselves.
Absolutely.
And part of the problem is just being like, hey guys, don't you think that maybe you're a little bit more entitled to the fruits of your labor than the fucking sexless manager who's constantly needling you all day? Isn't your boss kind of a fucking annoying stick in the mud who doesn't pull his weight? Yada 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 yada. Don't you think it's fucking bullshit that we need to, after we're beat at the end of the day, take fucking a college level course equivalent of just like teaching ourselves about how to navigate our overly financialized economy so that the government and fucking and inflation doesn't just eat away all of your hard-earned money that you're stowing away. Isn't that all fucking bullshit? And it's like, yeah, dude, fuck yeah, dude, you got us with you for sure. And then this is where like the modern paused up leftoid would be like, all right, cool, so like we're all on the same page. So now you guys just have to like unconditionally also be on my side when I start talking about like, giving sex changes to kids and like
right,
and
yeah.
like racial whatever the fuck, checks for black people, whatever the fuck the
reparations,
the word is. I honestly was kind of glad I had forgotten the word, but now you brought it back. And then, and we all know that whole thing. And then like in the cases of people like this, and this has generally been historically, there's been more precedent here where it's just like, okay, cool, we're all on the same page. And so now I'm going to start talking about some like really fucking weird, obscure third world-ish shit.
Yeah.
And inevitably it's going to like arrive at me saying that like, cutting Christians' heads off is like good and cool in the right context. And, I'm totally going to be brought down by moral relativism. And I'm going to be saying some like really weird type shit that's going to like totally rip off the mask and reveal me as just like another one of these overeducated managers.
Yep.
And if you don't completely agree with me on my opinion about the Khmer Rouge or some weird fucking shit that you don't even, you put up fucking drywall, right? Don't you know about fucking Pol Pot? Like it all falls apart. It all fucking falls apart.
Pol Pot was correct. I mean, people with glasses do be sus.
They do be sus. Dude, Pol Pot would be fucking liquidating the exact people we're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We
Pol
Pot
would be liquidating anyone who had ever even heard that person speak.
Put these managers back into the fields and make them do hard labor. Make Haas do hard labor. Make Jackson Hinckle do hard labor. Hard labor. And then maybe
hardest
as much as he can, dude, because maybe then he'll stop just fucking sauntering off to the other side of the world instead of addressing the issues that are happening right here. Here's the thing. I agree. We shouldn't be supporting Israel fucking up with Lebanon. We shouldn't be supporting Israel fucking Palestine. We should support Palestine's right to self-determination. I know on the last episode I devil's advocated a little bit about Trump saying we should take Gaza and, whatever. But at the end of the day, I do believe in the right to self-determination for all countries and peoples, and I think that you let their development take its course in whichever way it does, and ideally they get to wherever they need to be as a society and a culture and everything. I don't think that we should be doing too much to put any extra weight on either side of the scales as far as that goes. I don't want to be supporting Israel, but I also don't want to support Lebanon. I don't want to support Palestine. I want to support them by us not being involved. That's how we should be supporting them. And then by on the domestic front saying, we have to think about these other people that live in these countries. They are people, blah blah blah. I don't need you go like it's cosplaying weird bullshit. And it's like that's the reason why quote unquote communists will never be effective in the United States. But what we need right now more than anything as a fact is some level of regular working people knowing political economy enough to know what's in their best interest and how all these other forces are operating against their best interest. That's what we need. It doesn't need to be tied to communism. It doesn't need to have socialist realism in like imagery. In fact, it needs to not have any of that. It needs to be based firmly in American characteristics and American culture and American conditions because guess what? We're living in fucking America. And so like a working class party in America should be focused on working people. And so maybe a work like instead of being over there and glazing fucking Lebanon or whatever, they should be over here saying, "Wait a minute. Um some of this immigration stuff that's going on is actually causing an influx in the labor market that's making your labor value go down. We got to get a handle on that. And yes, we as like people who are working class minded should actually worry about immigration, and we should do this. And there should maybe be some viable alternative to like the response that we've seen in America to globalism and to modernism. There should be there should be multiple alternatives, not just the one. And like, I think having a healthy voice that is maybe a little bit more of a class based analysis. I would like it to be rooted in some understanding of Marxism, but towards American workers. And obviously, you drop the title of Marxism probably because that's not effective. It's the boogeyman. Same with communism. You don't need to jump into that stuff. You don't need to so readily identify the aesthetic with these doomed to fail projects that will never catch on in the West. And that's what these people are doing. And it's making, like you're saying, it's glowy behavior where it's making the whole concept of communism or any kind of working party or anything, it's like that's what it is. It's going over and fucking glazing Hezbollah. Well, I don't want anything to do with that. So it must be that communism and Marxism and all that is this obscene, insane, mind virus or whatever.
Well, this is. Sorry, go ahead.
I just think it's counterproductive what they're doing.
This is. I think. Okay, so a couple things here. Third worldists have like always been a fucking thorn in like the left side, right? And like, and it sucks. And I mean, I think that at least from my understanding, like I think their entire claim is basically just based on like kind of taking like the wrong lesson from the 20th century, like in general. Just this whole idea that like it actually works better to just like turn a bunch of fucking feudal serfs into a revolutionary subject in like pre-industrialized countries. It's like fucking retarded. That's like not a good idea. And like it happened like out of a fluke a couple of times.
And
but
it's
like
not Marxist in any kind of like actual orthodox sense, but
no, exactly. And like, well, and that's the funny thing too, is that these are the same people that like will like jump down our throats if we like are overly pragmatic about things.
yeah.
When like that in itself is like extremely pragmatic praxis, right? So that's always been a fucking problem. The I don't really have like any big allegiance to like communism or to fascism or to any of these things, but like I like totally would like be in support of like of like a new communist order or like a new fascist order, specifically because it would be like a shattering of like the end of history stasis.
Yeah, but it's still going
And
back. It's like a backwards. It's a shattering back into other forms that attempted to like disrupt that in the first place, and then like the end of history result like basically won
well,
out.
and that's a good point, right? That's a good point, and that might be true. That that might be true that it'd be going backwards. I do think that like you can kind of throw it into reverse and then maybe go back to
Yeah, yeah,
like a route on the road that didn't just lead to like a dead end.
yeah. Like if you're in a patch of
Um,
ice, it's like maybe roll backwards off the ice, get some good traction, and you can go forward.
yeah, and like really more than anything, it might just even be more about like rewiring people's like consciousness a little bit, just to be like, this isn't the only form that's possibly
Yeah.
imaginable, right? I mean, this is like, it does kind of come down to like capitalist realist kind of
Mm-hmm.
ideas, right? Of just like, we're just like in this fucking malaise and like we can't think of anything new. We're like completely starved for the tools to like to construct any new kind of framework and system and
Yeah.
truth. And and like rejecting that in any kind of form, even if it is going backwards, right, is something that I support. And and so like in that way, like I I don't know. Like I guess it's just like I wouldn't make a good ally to these people, um,
Yeah.
because like I don't really have the zeal that they have. Like
Yeah.
I have like I have like a very specific, um, and honestly, in a way, I guess you could criticize me by saying that like I am just articulating like a totally negative defined plan of attack, which is just like I just want to negate, the end of history.
Yeah. I like the
Um,
Dugan approach though more so. It's like the fourth political theory where it's like you want to surround modernity on all sides. So yes, you can encourage these like forms that are maybe more traditional forms that go back beyond modern like wait before modernity, and that's like kind of going back in a sense. And also you can maybe encourage like some of these kind of modern forms that's not necessarily in post modernity, but like you can kind of maybe encourage some stuff like proto fascism, proto communism, because it's kind of also warring with the thing that you're against in a sense. But I don't think either of those are the solution or have the right power lasting in the long term. I think you need to surround it on all sides. I think you need to have some understanding of a postmodern approach to these ideals and these systems where it's like, okay, in their modernist sense, these are not really effective defenses against global liberalism because global liberalism won out. And you can say yes that the scales were weighted towards that side and whatever, and like maybe communism would have won in a vacuum or whatever bullshit you want to talk about, or fascism or whatever. But that's just not what happened in history. And so I think like I'm not. I don't think I would say I'm a communist. I don't. I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't say I'm a fascist. I don't really believe in any of that stuff. What I do believe in is like taking the ideals from those things that work and applying them into a like a pragmatic approach that can grapple with modernity and the conditions that we have currently, but mostly the conditions we have here within our country for our citizenry. And
yep.
that I think is the biggest like thing we need to focus on. And I like the idea of maybe doing some like postmodern traditionalism kind of stuff where it's like rediscover the value in some of these traditions and use that to kind of inform your defense against modernity. And I do think that like some level of revolt against modernity is good, and that is defining in a negative sense, but it needs to be something that's it needs to be a viable alternative. It doesn't need to like, and you can encourage these other things that might weaken it, but that doesn't mean that those are the right paths totally. I think that they should just maybe be, it's like ideally you get enough stuff coming at the liberal order to where it kind of like weakens it out. And ideally, if you have some sort of better rooted understanding of something that's can work in the future, we can build towards that. I don't really think that any of the past forms are going to be what works in the future. I think that the conditions that we're dealing with and with technology and everything, I think things are just different now than they were in the early 1900s or the late 1800s, or whenever most of these things kind of came into being in existence. And so I think we do need some other way of looking at it. That's like the fourth political theory. I do think that that's the way to approach it. And but through that, it's like you need to understand what the value is of these other approaches and what do they offer as alternatives to liberalism, globalism, etc., and what works, and how do you like take that to inform your path forward, and how do you drop the things that don't work? Like, how do you take something like Marxism and then kind of take away the dehumanizing element, and that cuts you off from spirit and cuts you off from anything that's not just a material analysis? Like, how do you do like a post-secular Marxism or something like that? I think like doing these kind of amalgamations, that's what it's going to take to get us somewhere forward, and then that might birth something new entirely, because I don't think any of those are going to be the right thing either. But through multiple different groups kind of trying those strategies, we might paint out a better picture of something that will work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's my thing. That's my project. That's what I've been trying to do on this podcast, is trying to figure that out and talk it out as much as possible. And I don't know if we ever really get close to anything that is workable, but I do think that it's just going to take that. It's going to take trying different things and not being totally sold on any one approach. I think that's been the thing since we started FedPost. It's like, listen, it's syncretic. It has to be syncretic. It has to be somewhat populist. It has to be something that can unite people beyond these identifiers, and it needs to be something that can rise above dogmatism. That's what it has to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I think specifically to like the syncretic point, I'm just noticing more and more lately, and I don't know if you've felt this at all since getting back on Twitter. And I think you probably will soon if you haven't, but you get back on and you just see that everything split up in a big way
Yeah.
years ago, and now everything is kind of like come back together and threaded back together, and there's kind of just this uniformity of everyone kind of together, just like enjoying watching videos of like black criminals doing bad things.
Yeah.
And like and just it's just all fattening empty calorie treats.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the treats.
And
God, the treats discourse. I just thought about it.
well, I didn't even mean that, but yeah. And like, well, the treats discourse is a good example though, where it's just like these people like aren't thinking for themselves. These people are just like, the chuds hate rising food prices, so now we're pro rising food prices or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm becoming more and more, and like I am, and people can make fun of this because this is like this is normie whatever, but like yeah, I think that individualism in the West is like a big problem.
Yeah.
So I'm like collectivist minded in persuasion in a lot of ways.
You got to have a
But
collectivism
people,
that maps off of the individual.
well, and that's Christianity in my
Right.
mind.
100%. Yes.
But like seeing people just not fucking think for themselves, but think that they're these strong individuals, and really just be like parroting these talking points that I've heard elsewhere, is just so disillusioning, and it's so pathetic. And I do think that like a form of like political syncretism is the kind of the common sense takeaway that I have,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is just like, what if you just actually opened yourself up to starting to just adopt all of this, right? Because the one big thing that the right has going for it right now is that they actually have a view of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like leftists aren't able to actually have like nothing that's going on right now makes any sense to leftists.
Yeah.
Because they've completely cut themselves off from reality. Now that like doesn't mean that the right is like doing a good job necessarily. I mean, they kind of are right now for a little bit, but like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're like doing everything perfect, but they're at least like acknowledging that water is wet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so like, I mean, I don't know. So maybe that's what I will say to the benefit of someone like the Jackson Hinckles of the world and shit like that. It's just like they're at least acknowledging the basic. They're buying into the basic frame of the right, which is correct.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be that way. Like you can do that.
Yeah,
Um,
something that I've noticed since being back on Twitter for sure is like, and this has always been the case, and I think it's just part of human behavior, but specifically around political and also kind of like power based dynamics, is that there's this decentralized kind of effort to circle the wagons, to close ranks constantly. So like as soon as the, ASMR deportation video comes out or whatever, some people are like, "Hey guys, this is maybe not a good look. This is like we might get tired of winning if we're winning this hard or whatever in front of everyone. It's not going to help us gain favor." Then everyone's like, "You fucking loser, idiot, hidden crypto lib, blah blah blah," and all this, and it's like, sure, there's a value to both of those things that you're saying, and maybe taking constructive criticism, even if you don't really agree with the premise of it, could help you steelman your argument a little bit more for the long run. And having kind of a syncretic approach where you have differences of opinion all coming together, and you can kind of hold all these different things together in one kind of belief system or one kind of unit, that has a little bit more strength in that way because it's testing itself constantly. It's like we talked about in the last episode. You turn the microscope on yourself a little bit, and you have to be willing to do that. And if you just constantly are trying to make sure no one's a fence sitter, you need some people on the fence because you need to be trying to help win them over constantly, and that's going to make your cause better overall. um that's my take on all that.
yeah, yeah, I agree. I'll push back a little bit by just saying like I think that I don't know, like I think that everybody has their part to play.
Hmm.
And I think that like having enforcers be like, all right, for real though, shut the fuck up and get with the program, right?
Yeah.
Is like helpful, right? I mean, I think leftists I think make a really clear case for why that needs to exist because they're constantly just eating themselves.
Hmm.
Um but at the same time too, like it's a degrees thing. And like, yeah, right now there really is like cause to be a little bit hesitant and maybe a little bit nervous about just how much unconditional hyped up support and positivity there is on the right. And
Yeah.
I even just saying that I feel kind of silly. Oh, there's too much positivity. But it is just like you're kind of you're kind of the odd man out if you're not just like, you know, drunkenly celebrating bread and circuses right now.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's like, I don't know, dude. The fucking gold card for fucking Indian millionaires doesn't sound all that fucking great to me.
Yep. Yeah, that's where I'm at too. And I think that, I don't know, it's been kind of eerie getting back on Twitter and just kind of seeing that. And now it's just kind of, previously, I was on Twitter in 2021, 2020. So it's like all, we were post left. You have a bunch of leftists trying to get you in line. And then eventually it was like the post left kind of decided it was going to form an identity that was more kind of new right in some capacity. And so then it switched a little bit into like, people are like, "Oh, well, you're a crypto lib, you're this or that." So then there's like a closing of the wagons around that set of ideals, and the foot soldiers were deployed. And then now I come back like 3 years, 4 years later, which is kind of crazy to think it's been that long. I come back 4 years later, and it's just like it's the same thing happening, but it's just all around based stuff or whatever. It's just it's just flipped to that, and it's like, wait a minute though, guys.
Whoa, wait, you cut out at like the most critical moment. What were you saying?
Oh,
What is
I
it
was just
like?
thinking it's flipped now to where you still have that same mechanism happening, but it's just all around based stuff rather than like, oh, you have to be using the right lib talking points or whatever. It's like, oh, well, like that's
Yeah.
not like, this is all based. This is actually all based, and you like don't question it. And it's like,
No, it's a purity spiral
yeah,
effect, right? It's a purity spiral effect, and this is how I feel. This is like something I talk to my wife quite frequently about. Is
argue with
just
her
like this,
about.
like, yeah, I'm like, listen, bitch. No, I don't say that. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. Um, the no, just like some of the like normie con people we know, it's all just the same middle class purity spiral fashion based politics that it always is, but just by a different face,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm gonna be more based than this person. I'm gonna be more based than this person, and it's just like the funny thing especially is is that it's all hypocritical, right? Like all of the like I'm a Marxist Leninist third world yada yada yada, and it's like, bitch, you work for Nike.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? And then like I'm a fucking through and through conspiracy theorist, fascist, the most base person. And it's like, dude, you're like a triple divorcee. Fucking, you don't even go to church, and like you're just a liberal. They're all
Mm.
just liberals.
Yeah.
Um, and that's like, and that's not even. I mean, that's bad in like a thoughtful way, but also just like that's not even like no one's expecting any more of you. Just stop acting like you're anything more special. Because again, it's really easy to just like grandstand about how fucking crazy your beliefs are and everything. But like no one's making you do that, and you're under the impression that it's something deeper than what it actually is, which is just like just middle class fashion,
Yeah.
you know. And the really funny thing is that it's just like, you know, I think to probably like a lot of our normies, like you and I, maybe are assumed to be like, whoa, like, I mean, I know at least with some of my like normie friends, it's like, oh man, like, I mean, they don't call me Slav, but like, oh, Slav's, you know, whoa, schizo, crazy political guy. And it's like, no, you like just don't understand. I like am the like boring normie centrist,
Yeah.
but just like I'm the most you can be that with like an actual fucking understanding of what's happening in the
Yeah.
fucking world
For sure.
and what's actually going on. Like I'm not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'm
Um,
trying to do the kind of lib brain thing of having nuanced conversations, and
yeah,
apparently
no,
no one else can do that.
no, like you just exist in a world that's completely fake. But like if you were actually keyed into everything, like you would think that I'm just a boring milk toast,
Yeah.
you know, reasonable, uh, you know, prudent thinker. You know, it's um, and again, it's just the, you know, it's the with people like my mom, or I mean, I'm picking on my mom a lot. I don't mean to do
Yeah. God
that,
bless
but
your mom.
yeah,
We all love her.
God bless her. Like, but just for people like that, and it is just like all of our parents' brains got pickled in the last like 5 years
Oh yeah.
politically. Like, it is just this thing of like you just get onto this like sugar rush, right? This like ideological sugar rush. Oh my god, I've been red pilled on all these different things in the world, and I want to just I want to do all the highest highs. It's like you just read like a fucking self help book, and you're like planning out how the new optimized version of yourself is going to be, and it's like, dude, you need to like calm the fuck down and realize like you just. It's like you just watched like Zeitgeist 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
Like, calm down, you know.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, you've heard it here first, folks. We are your average centrist normies. We have got no type of dangerous opinions. We've got nothing like that. And,
Yeah.
that's just who we are. We're just normal guys. We're just centristed in our hearts, trying to have nuanced conversations about the things that matter. In
I'm just being
NPR.
me.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, Slav, I think that's it's about an hour and a half in. I got to eat some dinner. I feel like we've covered a good bit of our topics. I want to still talk about the Snap stuff, but we can save that since we've got Sai coming on to talk about
Mhm.
RFK and Maha and Snap. He just wrote a piece about
Do you
all of
like
it.
it? Do you think it's good? I think it's based. I like it.
Mm. I am
I
disappointed.
think you. Go
I'm
ahead, sir.
disappointed to see the first piece of legislation that's actually being talked about from this whole thing be aimed at consumers. That's what I'm disappointed about. I think there's a different way to go about it that
Great
doesn't cut
point.
into just like, oh, how do we do austerity towards people who are receiving government benefits? Like that's what's
Yep.
happening here. I don't like that. There's another way to handle this that doesn't involve that. It seems like a low hanging fruit. It's BoomerCon shit. BoomerCons have been talking about welfare recipients spend their money on sodas and whatever like it's just I don't like it. I think it's ugly. I know for sure that people, like I said before, I see people in front of me in line buying the fucking barrels of blue juice and the blue Takis. It's not good. But at the same time, we subsidize corn syrup and shit like that. We subsidize shit that's unhealthy, and then it makes the unhealthy food cheaper. and then it's like makes it an incentive to buy the unhealthy food. And if you're someone
Yeah, take the
who's
subsidies away.
right, take the subsidies away. Like he's RFK is talking about, oh well, America actually subsidizes these unhealthy foods and stuff through SNAP benefits and people purchasing them. It's like no, we subsidize them on the back end, and then again on the front end by these people buying them with their SNAP benefits or whatever. Make healthy, incentivize healthy food, disincentivize unhealthy food, but don't make it so poor kids can't have Oreos when everyone else can. That's crazy to me. I don't like that. I agree that a lot of people that are on SNAP, let's be honest, a lot of black people are like, a lot of SNAP people are black and whatnot.
Yeah.
They love the sugary, unhealthy shit. They've got like the diabetes, they're losing the feet, whatever. I agree with that. But all
They're losing the feet.
well, they are. Dave Blunt's his feet are in trouble. But that's the thing. It's like I get that they're making these unhealthy choices, but like the way to counter it is to cut out the stuff, like put regulations on what's actually in the food, ban the chemicals, ban the toxic ingredients. I don't want to ban sugar. I don't want people to eat sugar all day long, but I would like to still have access to Oreos. I've been on SNAP benefits before in my life, and it's like I shouldn't have to just get beans and rice. I don't understand that. I don't it's gonna and I get there's an argument or whatever that's like, well, if you can't earn enough money for yourself, then why not just eat beans and rice, substance food? It's like, sure, I guess that's not a type of place I want to live in my heart. That's not the way I want to approach the problem. I would rather look at the problem on the back end and talk about why are we subsidizing this to make the food cheaper? Why is it that we put all this extra bullshit into everything because we have such a surplus of corn to make corn syrup? We have such a surplus of soy. We have all this extra shit. And then why do we let these corporate conglomerates and stuff advertise to these people so much and so aggressively towards people who are I don't know. I don't want to get too much on it. I haven't fully thought it out, but my initial response on it is I don't like it. I would rather see them going at the corporations and going at the practices that are actually making this stuff flood the shelves and not the few poor people who buy it off of the shelves when the rest of the other people are also buying it off of the shelves. And I get the idea of like we don't want to spend government money on it. I don't give a fuck about that government money being spent on it. I don't believe in this like scarcity of government funds and there's people on welfare that are using a lot. Like I don't believe in that framework. That's not something that I buy into or care a lot about.
It's same as it ever was. It's just right wing lib brain shit. I don't. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm willing to be a little bit more lenient on it just because it's like it's an easy win.
Yeah.
It's an easy win for him, and so he just gets it in real fast to like make waves and everything.
But there's a reason why it's an easy win. It's because like we said, it's just the regular fucking neocon playbook.
It's business as usual.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, it's just liberalism.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's boring to me.
And like, what are you going to consider junk food? Like, how far does it go down the line? Like, where does it stop? What are the actual regulations? I'm sure they're going to say, oh, there's common sense regulations or whatever. But like, what? You're saying that a woman who has kids on SNAP can't go buy a birthday cake for their kid with their SNAP whenever it's their kid's birthday? It's like, that's the kind of shit where it's like, I just don't agree with that. And I don't think we should immediately start by aiming at the poorest people in our economy and what are they spending their money on. That to me is not the way to handle it.
What I will say is I do think that I think a case can be made. That like that. I mean, okay. All right. I know we were going to hop off here, but one thing I will say, just in the spirit of devil's advocate, right? Because I do agree with you. Ultimately, it's liberalism, right? Yes. Like I don't need RFK to go in and just like regulate individual person's behavior. I like need him to take the fucking poison out of the food.
Yeah.
Right. That being said, I do think that there's obviously a case to be made that like compassion can also mean going to people who are fucking addicts. And this stuff is drugs. This stuff is harmful drugs. And being like, no, I'm sorry. You can't just keep having your drugs. You need to stop having your drugs now, sir.
Right.
And so I like get that. But as far as like as far as action within the political economy goes, I want a little bit more upstream
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
solving than just like, Letitia can't get her plastic barrel neon colored fruit treats
Right.
for her kids anymore.
How about you making them more expensive or something like that to disincentivize purchasing them? How about you levy certain taxes towards the like companies that are putting this kind of stuff on the shelves? How about you make the chemicals and stuff illegal, like they've done in all these other countries? Like, I don't want to ban Fruit Loops. I want the Fruit Loops to be not covered in a fucking dye and covered in shit that's gonna kill me. I want to be able to get a 5 ingredient Fruit Loop like they have over in Europe. I want to be able to do shit like that. I don't think that we have to completely change everything. And my thing is, yes, I definitely agree that like we are addicted to this stuff. It is bad for us, and but like that goes for everyone. It's not just people on fucking SNAP benefits. So if that's the case, then let's just get it off the shelves. That's my thing. I do not agree with the striated like kind of these people can maybe make them luxury goods and make them have a higher cost to where if you do spend your SNAP benefits on it or whatever, it makes a dent into what you can actually purchase or not. I'll give you that maybe. But
I honestly, I think the syntax angle that you're taking, I feel even worse about than this, where it's just like I don't need to harvest uh like income for the government from these poor
yeah,
people just because they're like addicted to sugar and everything. I almost think it's like nicer and more honest to just be like, you just straight up can't get this on EBT anymore. But again, it's just, I guess the best thing I can say about it is that it's an easy win day one so that you can have some symbolic action. But like, that's the fact that that's kind of the best thing I can say about it is, I don't know. Like you said, I'm interested to have Cy on to talk to somebody who like has a positive, like affirmative case for it. Cause I'm
yeah,
sure he does.
yeah,
And because again, it is just kind of one of these like, well, okay.
yeah.
Um,
I just think it's business as
and
usual.
hey, I mean, if we get a year from now and he has like the corn subsidies have ended, the fucking tallow is back, the fucking dyes are out, all of that shit. If we get the real upstream shit that I'm talking about, then like, fuck it.
Right.
I'm not gonna waste any time complaining about something like this. Fuck it,
For sure.
right?
Yeah.
But it is like it is. I'm talking about symbolism and like that it's an easy win and it's symbolic and all the things like that. Like that also cuts both ways where it's like, yeah, okay, if this is symbolic of what's to come, then like, is this all just going to be on the individual level and not system wide? Are
Mm-hmm.
you just going to do you come in talking about the macro big time of like, well, we're all just being poisoned with this stuff that's being put in our food. And then are you going to kind of just go to the usual crutch that a lot of people go to when it comes to health minded shit, which is just like, bro, literally just stop eating the sugar shit. And it's like, dude, you like don't understand. These people are like more hooked than a crack addict
Yeah.
is.
And yeah, I just don't think that the framework for solving these kind of issues should start at the individual level on consumer choices. I think that's just a flawed way of looking at it. And it's not a framework or it's not something I believe in. It's not something that I think is effective. And I can devil's advocate it. Like, I get it. People are, there is definitely there's a lot of fat people on SNAP benefits that are fucking spending their SNAP on unhealthy shit. I see it. I see them load up their cart with fucking TV dinners and everything like that. I absolutely see it. Um, but like then it's like what are we gonna ban? Like what are we gonna keep off of SNAP benefits? Lunch meat? Because processed lunch meat is just as bad for you as fucking chips. Or it's like there's so many things. It's like where are we gonna get that's just not the way to start. How about you start with the specific chemicals, the specific issues, and regulate those out? That's what I want. I don't want to get into who's buying what and that kind of shit. I would rather it start top down, not bottom up. That's just my whole thing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. At the end of the day, am I gonna like cry over if they take that off SNAP benefits and then people can't? No, I'm not. It's whatever. But like, I don't think that's the right approach, and I am disappointed if that's what we get out of it. I am like, man, that sucks, and that's what I was worried about. Was that like, oh, these broad sweeping things he's talking about, he's not going to be able to get any of these things done. What he is going to be able to get
Yeah.
done. It's just these austerity measures. That's. I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Dude, honestly, go off. Let's talk about it more next time, because I think that this has a lot of branching paths.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, well, I'm gonna go eat some blue Takis and drink some barrels of sugar juice real quick.
No, don't do it.
Bring me the
I'm
poison.
gonna legislate against that. Yeah. I changed my mind. RFK was right. Don't do it.
Oh, all right, Slav, brother. Have a good night, and I'll catch you sometime soon.
Sounds good, bud.
These people are sick. This is obviously a very, very sick individual. These people are the sickest of them all. These people are sick. They are sick. And you better get used to hearing it. These people are sick.